Far across the galaxy, in the vast emptiness of space, the Zorian collective kept watch on many worlds. For eons, they had observed countless planets, cataloging their potential for galactic trade, colonization, or conquest. Earth, the third planet from the Sun, was just another insignificant world on their radar. To the Zorian leaders, it was no different than any other. A small planet with primitive inhabitants. They never paid much attention to it. Until now. Something was changing. Something that made their sensors go haywire. The Zorian scout ship, hovering just beyond Earth's atmosphere, picked up strange signals. At first, they thought it was a glitch in their equipment, but the signals were unmistakable. They weren't from any known species in the galaxy. They were too advanced for the primitive humans, yet not as sophisticated as the Zorian technology. The signals pulsed like a heartbeat, organic, alive. The Zorian scouts knew they were on the verge of uncovering something big, something dangerous. Captain Zathor of the Zorian fleet stood in front of a massive screen, his fingers tracing the patterns of the signals. His sharp eyes narrowed as the patterns continued to repeat, getting stronger by the day. There was something odd about these signals. They didn't seem to come from a machine, but rather something natural. His fingers hovered over the comms button. He hesitated before making the call to his superiors. "Report to High Command. There is something on Earth we need to investigate," Zathor said, his voice steady, but laced with an unfamiliar unease. The signal was unlike anything they had encountered before. It wasn't just a transmission. It was energy, a force they could not understand. The more they analyzed it, the clearer it became that it was coming from the Earth itself. Something within the planet was calling out into space, sending waves of energy across the stars. The Zorian leadership, intrigued but also wary, ordered a more detailed investigation. They dispatched a full scout team to the planet, instructing them to make contact with the humans if necessary, but also to uncover the source of the mysterious signal. What they didn't know was that the Earth had been hiding its true power for centuries. As the Zorian ship descended closer to Earth, they thought they were prepared for anything. The humans were no match for their advanced weapons and intelligence, but they were about to learn the hard way that Earth was not as defenseless as it seemed. The moment the ship entered Earth's atmosphere, the energy signals intensified, almost as if the planet itself was aware of their presence. Something on Earth was waking up, and the Zorian collective was about to find out why they feared the third planet. As the Zorian scout ship approached Earth's atmosphere, Captain Zathor felt the weight of their mission pressing down on him. His ship's systems hummed as they entered the outer layers of the planet's airspace. The signals were now unmistakable, and he couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. His first thought was to report back to High Command and ask for more resources, but there was no time. The energy pulse coming from Earth was unlike anything their technology had encountered before. It felt ancient, almost primal, and it was growing stronger. "We need to find out what is causing this," Zathor muttered to himself, his eyes fixed on the glowing screens in front of him. His crew worked silently, analyzing the energy readings, trying to make sense of the anomaly. Suddenly, the ship's navigator, Jala, called out from across the bridge. "Captain, there's something else. Old records, hidden archives. It looks like the humans knew of this energy long ago." Zathor raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" "The humans have ancient records of such things." Jala nodded. "Yes, but they didn't have the technology to understand it. These records date back to before their modern civilization. It looks like a failed attempt to conquer Earth by another species." Zathor's interest piqued. The Zorian collective had encountered many species throughout the galaxy, but none had shown the kind of tenacity or resistance that Earth's inhabitants seemed to possess. He leaned forward, his mind racing. "What happened?" he asked, his voice low. Jala began to read aloud, her voice filled with disbelief. "It says that an alien force tried to invade Earth thousands of years ago. This species, unknown to us, tried to take control of the planet for its resources. But something happened. The humans, they fought back. They repelled the invasion in a way that no other species could do. The invaders were forced to retreat. The records say that humans have a hidden strength, something they don't even fully understand themselves. Zathor felt a chill run down his spine. Earth had not only survived a galactic war in ancient times, but it had done so against an alien force that had underestimated them. And now, thousands of years later, that same planet was sending out an energy signal that even the mighty Zorian collective couldn't comprehend. "Is there anything else?" Zathor asked. Jala paused for a moment, her fingers hovering over the console. "There's more," she said slowly. "The records include a warning that we should not underestimate Earth. It says, 'Do not fear the humans, but fear what they are capable of.'" Zathor clenched his fists. He had heard of powerful civilizations before, but this was different. The humans had something inside them, something deep within their planet, that made them a force to be reckoned with. The Zorian captain sat back in his chair, staring at the planet below. The warning from the old records echoed in his mind. It seemed clear now. Earth was not a planet to be taken lightly. "Prepare the crew," Zathor ordered. "We're going in, but we do so cautiously. This planet is more dangerous than we thought." And so, the Zorian fleet, once confident in their superiority, began to understand that Earth was no ordinary world. The third planet was hiding something that could change the balance of the galaxy forever. The Zorian collective had never encountered anything like Earth. The strange energy signals, the mysterious records, and the ancient warning had shaken them. They had underestimated the planet, and now they knew they had to act carefully. Captain Zathor, standing before the tactical map in the war room, felt a cold knot in his stomach. Earth wasn't just another weak planet. They had something powerful, something they had yet to fully understand. "Prepare the fleet," Zathor ordered, his voice steady but filled with concern. "We will send a small team to the surface first. They will assess the situation and gather more information. We cannot afford to make a mistake." The Zorian forces, once confident in their overwhelming technological superiority, were now on edge. They had come to conquer Earth. But the more they learned, the less sure they were that it would be an easy task. The humans might seem primitive on the surface, but their ancient history hinted at a strength that defied all expectations. Zathor needed to know more. Back on Earth, the world's governments were quickly realizing that something was wrong. Strange patterns in their satellite feeds, mysterious signals from deep space. They were not prepared for an alien encounter. Yet, in the midst of global panic, a small group of human scientists and military officials began to connect the dots. Dr. Ilara Hughes, a leading scientist at the Earth Defense Initiative, stood in a small, secure lab surrounded by complex equipment. Her fingers danced across the holographic interface, working tirelessly to decode the energy pulses from space. She had been studying the signals for days, trying to understand their origin and purpose. What she had found terrified her. "These signals are not random," Ilara said quietly to her colleague, Captain James Cade, a battle-hardened military officer. "They're deliberate. Someone or something is sending them." Cade's expression was grim. "Do you think it's an invasion?" Ilara nodded. "It's possible. The patterns in the signals suggest they're coming from a highly advanced civilization, and the energy levels are off the charts. Whatever it is, it's not good." The two exchanged a look of concern. Humanity was not prepared for war with an alien species. Earth had never faced a real threat from outside their world, and they lacked the technology to defend themselves from an advanced civilization. "We need to get this information to the highest levels," Cade said, his voice firm. "We need to prepare, and fast." Ilara agreed. The signals were growing stronger every hour. Soon, Earth's governments would need to act. But there was one problem. They didn't even know what they were facing. Meanwhile, the Zorian fleet began to gather at the edge of Earth's solar system. Their ships, sleek and menacing, moved into position as Scathar watched from the command center. His orders were clear: do not engage until they had full knowledge of what they were up against. But in his heart, Scathar knew this wasn't just a mission to conquer. Something deeper was at play. Earth was hiding something, and he was determined to uncover it. As both sides prepared for what was to come, one thing became certain: the third planet was about to change the fate of the galaxy. Neither the Zorian collective nor the humans could fully comprehend what was about to unfold. The Zorian fleet now loomed just outside Earth's atmosphere. Captain Scathar stood at the helm of the flagship, his eyes focused on the holographic map of the planet below. His team had gathered all the information they could, but nothing had prepared them for the growing sense of dread. There was something deeply unsettling about the planet, something they still couldn't fully understand. "We are in position, Captain." Jala, the ship's navigator, reported. Her voice was steady, but Scathar could hear the unease in her tone. "The humans have detected our presence. They've launched a response fleet to intercept us." Scathar nodded. He had expected this. The humans might be primitive, but they weren't without defenses. "Prepare for first contact," he ordered. "But be cautious. We cannot afford to reveal too much until we know what we are dealing with." As the Zorian ships moved into Earth's orbit, the human response was swift. A fleet of fighter jets and a few military vessels launched from Earth's surface, their weapons primed. These humans had no idea who they were up against, but they weren't going to let any alien force invade without a fight. On Earth, Dr. Ilara Hughes and Captain James Cade were watching the Zorian fleet from a secure military base. The air was thick with tension as Earth's best military units prepared for the worst. Ilara's mind raced, trying to find any way to communicate with the alien ships without provoking them. "Can we reach them? Any way to send a message?" Cade asked, his voice steady but filled with concern. "I'm trying," Ilara replied, her fingers flying over the interface. "But their technology is unlike anything we've seen. It's blocking our attempts to communicate. They've come for something, but I don't know what." Back in space, the Zorian fleet remained silent, their weapons ready, but they made no aggressive move. Scathar's gaze never left the planet. He could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on him. The moment of first contact was approaching, and everything hinged on how the humans reacted. The tension reached its peak when a human fighter jet unexpectedly crossed into Zorian space, firing a shot that narrowly missed the lead ship. The blast sent a shockwave through the fleet, and Scathar's hand instinctively went to the weapon control. The humans had just made their first move. "Open fire." Scathar barked, his voice cold. "Show them our strength." Zorian energy beams shot out from the ships, striking the human fighters with precision. The humans scrambled to respond, but their technology was no match for the Zorian weapons. One by one, the human ships were destroyed, falling out of orbit like dying stars. Ilara watched in horror as the sky lit up with explosions. The humans had tried to fight, but they were outmatched. "We have to stop this," she whispered to herself. "There has to be another way." As the battle raged on, Captain Scathar watched the chaos unfold below, but something was nagging at him. There was an odd feeling in the air, a strange sense that this wasn't just a normal military confrontation. The humans were not acting like any species he had encountered before. They were relentless, unwilling to back down. They were fighting for something more than survival. Scathar's mind raced. What was it that made Earth's people so determined? What was it they were hiding? As the Zorian fleet continued its assault, Scathar couldn't shake the feeling that they had made a terrible mistake by underestimating the third planet. The battle above Earth raged on, but beneath the chaos of laser fire and explosions, something much bigger was happening. Captain Scathar stood in his ship's command room, watching the scenes unfold on a holographic display. His forces were dominating, but he felt no triumph. Instead, an unsettling feeling lingered, as if there was something more lurking beneath the surface of the conflict. "Captain, we're detecting something unusual," Jala, the navigator, said, her voice tense. She glanced up from her console, her face pale. "The energy readings from Earth. They're changing." Zathar's brow furrowed. The signals had been strange from the start, but this was something entirely different. The energy coming from the planet wasn't just a static pulse anymore. It was growing, shifting, and intensifying at an alarming rate. "Show me," Zathar commanded, his voice sharp. Jala manipulated the controls, bringing up the data on the main screen. The readings were unlike anything the Zorian collective had ever encountered. The energy was organic, alive, as though the planet itself had awakened. It pulsed rhythmically, like a heartbeat, but far more powerful than anything the Zorian ships had felt before. "It's coming from all over the planet," Jala said, her voice filled with disbelief. "It's not localized to any one area. It's everywhere. This is impossible." Zathar stared at the readings, his mind racing. He had thought the humans' resistance came from their technology, their weapons. But this was different. This wasn't a battle fought with machines. This was something older, something elemental. Earth was drawing on some kind of power, something beyond even the Zorian collective's understanding. Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Ilara Hughes was working desperately in her lab, trying to make sense of the same energy signals. She had been monitoring the conflict from the safety of the Earth Defense Initiative's command center, but the growing power from the planet's core was undeniable. She knew this was not just a fight for survival anymore. "Captain Cade, look at this," she said urgently, showing the data to the military officer beside her. "This is what I've been warning about. The energy from the Earth's core. It's waking up. The planet is using its own energy to fight back." Cade leaned forward, his eyes narrowing as he examined the readings. "Are you saying Earth has this kind of power?" Ilara nodded. "Yes, and I don't think we've even begun to understand what it can do. This isn't just about technology or military might. This planet is alive in a way we never imagined." Back in space, Zathar continued to watch in stunned silence as the energy levels surged. His fleet was in the process of overwhelming the human forces, but now he had a new concern. What was this energy? And more importantly, why was Earth releasing it now? "This changes everything," Zathar muttered under his breath. "We're not dealing with just another planet. We're dealing with a living, breathing force." His gaze never left the screen, his mind racing as the mystery of the third planet deepened. The humans were tapping into a power that even the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy had never seen. The Zorian collective was no longer the most powerful force in the galaxy. Earth's hidden strength was coming to the forefront. The balance of power had shifted, and Zathar now realized something terrifying. Earth was not just a planet, it was a force to be reckoned with. The situation on Earth was rapidly changing. As the Zorian fleet continued to press its attack, humans had begun to understand something profound about their planet's energy. It was more than just a resource. It was a hidden power that could not only protect them, but could potentially reshape the fate of the galaxy. But to tap into this power fully, they would need to work together. Dr. Ilara Hughes and Captain James Cade stood side by side in the Earth Defense Initiative's war room, looking over the battle data. The skies above Earth were filled with the remnants of the fighting. Human fighters, some intact and others destroyed, floating in orbit. The Zorian fleet, meanwhile, still hovered above the planet, imposing and unyielding. "We need to make a decision, and fast," Cade said, his voice steady but filled with urgency. "The Zorian forces aren't going to stop until they get what they came for. We've got to pull every resource together if we stand any chance of surviving." Ilara nodded, her mind racing. "You're right. But it's not just about survival anymore. We're dealing with something much bigger than a military conflict. This energy, this force coming from the planet. It's our only real chance." "What do you mean?" Cade asked, his brow furrowing. Ilara tapped a few commands on her console, bringing up a detailed map of Earth's energy readings. This power is linked to Earth itself. It's like the planet is waking up, responding to the threat. If we can harness it fully, it could change everything. Cade studied the data carefully. And if we can't? We lose, Ilara said simply. But if we can make it work, it's not just about defense anymore. We could take the fight to them. The idea of harnessing Earth's latent power was risky, but Ilara knew it was their best shot. She wasn't sure how, but she believed that the ancient energy buried deep inside the planet could be activated with the right combination of science and willpower. And if it could be harnessed, it would give humans an advantage no alien force could match. We can't do this alone, Ilara continued. We need to form an alliance, every nation, every faction. It's the only way we'll survive. Cade was quiet for a moment, then nodded. We'll bring everyone together. If humanity is going to survive, we need to fight as one. Across the globe, leaders of various nations scrambled to respond. They put aside old rivalries and political differences, realizing that the fate of Earth, and possibly the entire galaxy, was at stake. The world's military forces, scientists, and engineers came together in ways they never had before. They began to unlock the secrets of the planet's energy, developing technologies to harness and channel it into weapons, shields, and powerful new defenses. Meanwhile, the Zorian fleet, oblivious to the changes happening on Earth, continued their assault, confident that Earth would soon fall under their control. But as they fired upon human cities, something began to shift in the atmosphere. The energy from Earth's core intensified, and for the first time, it responded in a way that shocked the Zorian forces. Captain Sathor watched from his command ship as the first signs of Earth's power began to manifest. The energy pulses that had once been chaotic and unpredictable now focused into tight beams of light. The human alliance had begun to tap into something more than just Earth's natural resources. The planet itself had awoken, and it was not going to stand by quietly. As Earth's energy continued to surge, Sathor knew that they were no longer fighting just humans. They were fighting the very planet itself. The skies over Earth had become a battleground. Zorian ships filled the atmosphere, firing down upon the cities below, their weapons effortlessly tearing through human defenses. Yet, despite the overwhelming power of the Zorian fleet, humans were not backing down. There was something in the air, a growing sense of defiance, as if the planet itself was fighting back. Dr. Ilara Hughes stood at the Earth Defense Initiative's control center, her hands gripping the edge of the console as she watched the energy readings rise. The energy from Earth's core had shifted, becoming more focused and intense. She could feel it now, this incredible force that the planet had been hiding for so long. But now, it was no longer just about Earth's defense. It was about striking back. Captain Cade, Ilara said urgently, the planet is reacting to the Zorian attack. It's using its energy to protect itself. Cade, standing beside her, nodded. Are we able to control it yet? We're getting there, Ilara replied. But it's unpredictable. We're still learning how to direct the energy. Above them, the battle raged on. Human forces, now working as one, were scrambling to defend Earth. Fighter jets soared through the atmosphere, dodging energy beams from the Zorian ships. Military units on the ground fought back with everything they had, but the Zorian weapons were too powerful. Earth's defenses were holding, but just barely. As the humans struggled, the Zorian fleet moved closer to Earth's surface. Captain Zathor, aboard his flagship, watched as the situation unfolded. The humans were showing unexpected resilience. They were not just fighting with weapons. They were tapping into something far older, something the Zorian forces had not anticipated. I told you we should have been more cautious, Jala said, her voice tense. The humans are not like the other species we've encountered. Zathor's eyes narrowed as he observed the energy pulses now emanating from the planet. These were no longer random, chaotic bursts. They were powerful, controlled beams of force, directed at the Zorian fleet. He had underestimated Earth's potential, but now he could feel the full force of the planet's wrath. "They're not just defending themselves," Xathar muttered. "They're fighting back." In response, Xathar ordered his fleet to engage with full force. "We cannot allow them to activate this power. Prepare to destroy their cities. We will break their will to fight." But as the Zorian ships fired upon the human cities, something incredible happened. The energy from Earth's core intensified even further. It was as though the planet itself had summoned an ancient power, a force that no Zorian weapon could defeat. The sky crackled with energy as Earth's defenses surged to life, powered by the raw energy of the planet. One by one, Zorian ships began to fall from the sky, their shields unable to withstand the concentrated energy blasts from Earth. The human forces, emboldened by this new power, pressed forward with renewed strength. For the first time in the battle, the Zorian fleet was forced to retreat. Xathar watched in disbelief as his ships were overwhelmed. The humans had tapped into something that was beyond even their understanding. He had never faced a planet with this kind of power before, and now he wasn't sure how to stop it. "Fall back," Xathar commanded, his voice cold. "We need to regroup." As the Zorian fleet retreated, Captain Cade stood beside Ilara, staring at the screens in disbelief. For the first time, the humans had driven back their invaders. But as the battle ended, one question lingered in Ilara's mind. Had they just won a victory, or had they unleashed a power that would change the fate of the galaxy forever? The Zorian fleet had retreated, but the battle was far from over. Captain Xathar paced back and forth on his command ship, his mind racing. The humans had done the impossible. They had fought back with a power that had sent his fleet scrambling for cover. Earth's energy was unlike anything the Zorian collective had ever seen, and now, Xathar knew that they couldn't afford another mistake. "We have underestimated them," Jala said, her voice low as she stood beside him. "Their planet has something we didn't know about, and now they're using it against us." Xathar nodded, his face grim. "We need to find out everything we can about Earth's power. If they can control it, we're at a huge disadvantage." Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Ilara Hughes stood with Captain Cade in the newly established Earth Defense Command Center, staring at the displays showing the retreating Zorian ships. Earth had just won its first major victory, but Ilara knew this was only the beginning. The Zorian fleet had retreated, but they would come back stronger, more prepared. Earth's defenses were impressive, but they weren't foolproof. "We can't let our guard down," Cade said, his voice filled with determination. "We need to keep working on the energy. We need to harness it fully if we're going to win." Ilara agreed. "I've been analyzing the readings. This power, it's more than just energy. It's like the planet itself is alive. If we can unlock its full potential, we might be able to turn the tide." But there was a problem. While they had made great strides in understanding Earth's power, Ilara knew they were only scratching the surface. There was something deep within the planet, something ancient and powerful that no one truly understood. If they could access it, it might give them the edge they needed. But if they couldn't, they risked everything. "We need to find the source," Ilara said, her voice filled with urgency. "This power, it's connected to something deep within the planet. We need to locate it and figure out how to control it. If we can't, the Zorian fleet will eventually find a way to overcome us." Cade nodded. "Then we'll search every corner of the planet if we have to. We won't let them win." Back in space, the Zorian fleet regrouped, but Xathar was far from confident. The humans had shown an unexpected level of resilience. They had fought with a strength that had caught him off guard. He knew that Earth's power was something that couldn't be ignored. "We need to find a way to destroy the source of this energy," Xathar said, his voice hard with determination. "We can't let them keep using it. It's their advantage, and we have to take it away." The Zorian forces began to prepare for a new strategy. Xathar knew they couldn't just overpower the humans with brute force. They needed to find a way to disrupt the flow of energy that was giving Earth its power. As Earth's leaders and scientists worked tirelessly to understand the planet's hidden energy, Ilara's thoughts were filled with both hope and fear. Hope that they could harness this power to defeat the Zorian forces, and fear that in doing so, they might unlock something they weren't ready for. What if we're wrong? Ilara whispered to herself as she stared at the glowing energy readings. What if this power is too much for us to control? But there was no time for doubt. Earth's survival depended on mastering this power, and there was no turning back now. The Zorian fleet had regrouped, its ships now more organized and prepared for the next phase of the battle. Captain Zathor stood aboard the flagship, staring out into the vastness of space. The humans had proven resilient, but their resistance had only delayed the inevitable. Earth's strange power, though impressive, could not keep them safe forever. We've seen their strength, but now we know their weakness, Zathor said, his voice low but filled with certainty. We will strike at the heart of their power. Once we neutralize it, they will fall. Jala, the navigator, turned to Zathor. But Captain, we still don't fully understand the energy coming from the planet. The humans may have unlocked part of its power, but they don't know how to control it fully. If we strike too soon, we might make things worse. Zathor's eyes narrowed. We can't wait any longer. The humans are adapting too quickly. We'll go after the source of their power, and once we destroy it, they'll have nothing left to fight with. On Earth, Dr. Ilara Hughes was working late into the night. The Earth Defense Initiative had gathered all the data they could, and they were close, so close, to understanding the true source of the energy that had been waking up within the planet. It wasn't just power, it was something more. It was life. We have to find it, Ilara muttered to herself, pacing back and forth in the command center. The source is deeper than we thought. If we can unlock it fully, we can stop them for good. Captain Cade walked into the room, his face grim. The Zorian fleet is advancing again. They're preparing for a final push. We don't have much time. Ilara's heart sank. They had been fighting for weeks, but the Zorian fleet had regrouped and was ready for another assault. They had been counting on Earth's energy to hold off the invaders, but now the Zorian forces were targeting the source itself. They're going for the core, Ilara said, her voice barely above a whisper. If they destroy the planet's core, everything we've worked for will be lost. Cade clenched his fists. Then we'll make sure they don't get to it. We have one shot at this. Across the globe, humanity's forces were mobilizing. Military units, scientists, and engineers worked together to defend Earth's core, using everything they had to stop the Zorian invasion. The energy from Earth's core had already begun to pulse more intensely, as if the planet itself knew it was under threat. As the Zorian ships closed in on Earth, their weapons primed, Zathor's fleet prepared to deliver the final blow. They were going to destroy the source of the humans' power and crush the resistance once and for all. But as the first Zorian missile launched toward Earth's surface, something unexpected happened. The planet's energy surged. A bright, blinding light exploded from the core, sending shockwaves across the atmosphere. The Zorian fleet faltered as the energy beams shot out like a living force, knocking several ships off course. Zathor watched in horror as his fleet's weapons failed to penetrate the energy shield around the planet. The humans had done the impossible once again. Earth wasn't just surviving, it was fighting back. Ilara and Cade stood side by side, watching as Earth's power engulfed the sky. The core had fully awakened, and the planet's energy was now under their control. Earth had become something more than a planet. It had become a force, a living entity capable of protecting itself from the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. But as the battle raged on, both sides knew this was just the beginning. The final confrontation had only just begun, and the fate of the third planet would be decided by the power of his core. The battle for Earth had reached its peak. The Zorian fleet, battered by Earth's overwhelming energy, was retreating into the void of space, unable to withstand the sheer power that now surged from the planet's core. The energy pulses had become unstoppable, like a living force that refused to back down. Earth had won, for now. But the fight had changed everything. The fate of the third planet had been rewritten. Captain Zathor stood on the bridge of his flagship, staring out into the vast emptiness of space. His fleet was in disarray. The once proud Zorian collective had underestimated the humans, and now they were forced to retreat. The planet had proven itself to be more than just a vulnerable world. It was a force capable of defending itself with power unlike anything Zathor had ever encountered. "We have failed," Jala said quietly, her voice filled with disbelief. "The humans have turned their planet into a weapon. We cannot defeat them." Zathor's jaw tightened. He had thought the Zorian collective was invincible, but this unexpected turn of events had shattered that belief. "We'll regroup. We'll return," he muttered, but even as he spoke, he knew it would not be the same. Earth had changed the rules of the game. And now, it wasn't just a planet. They were facing something more. Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Ilara Hughes stood with Captain James Cade, watching the retreating Zorian fleet on the holographic display. The human forces, battered but unbroken, had emerged victorious. But there was no time to celebrate. The world had changed forever, and humanity now held the keys to a power that could alter the course of history. "We've done it," Cade said, his voice filled with a mix of relief and awe. "We've won." Ilara nodded, but her mind was still racing. "We've won this battle, yes, but we've only just begun to understand what this energy really is. Earth's core isn't just a source of power, it's alive, connected to everything around us. If we're going to control it, we need to learn how to live with it, not just use it." The energy from Earth's core had given them victory, but it was clear that they couldn't wield this power recklessly. It was more than just a weapon. It was a living force that needed to be respected. Humanity had to learn to coexist with the planet's newfound strength. "We'll figure it out," Cade said, his voice steady. "Together." As the days passed, the Earth Defense Initiative worked to understand the full extent of the planet's power. Scientists, engineers, and leaders from around the world came together, determined to learn from this incredible energy without exploiting it. Earth's power had saved them, but they knew that it could also destroy them if misused. And across the galaxy, the message was clear. The third planet was no longer just a speck in the vastness of space. It was a world of incredible potential, a force to be reckoned with. The Zorian collective, along with any other alien civilizations that might have been watching, now knew that Earth was not a planet to be ignored. It was a new player in the galactic stage, and its power could change everything. Ilara looked out over the horizon, the world peaceful once more. But in her heart, she knew that Earth's true journey was only beginning. The galaxy was vast, and the future held both promise and danger. Earth had survived, but the real challenge now was how to use its power wisely in a universe that would never see it the same way again. Humanity had won, but the true test of their strength would be how they used the power of the third planet in the new era ahead.